is for the rest of the week, when we're on the show floor, you're hearing a lot from our HPE product teams about what HPE is doing. And so I'm really excited that we were able to work with our sponsorships team to bring you a couple of really cool stories this week about how our customers are putting our products and technologies to use. So this morning, the first one you're going to hear about is from Ryder Cup. We have Lissa Hollinger, who is our Aruba product marketing VP. Yeah. Yes, okay. And then Michael Cole, the CTO from Ryder Cup. They're going to come up here and have just a casual conversation. We encourage you to ask questions and listen along. And then we'll do that for as long as you've got questions. So please put your hands together. Let's welcome them because they've come a long way to talk to you.
You got to do golf.
Thanks so much. Thanks for joining, everybody. You having fun in Vegas? Yeah. Show of hands, how many people have been gambling? Nobody? I find that hard to believe.
This is our gambling.
Can you hear me? Is that? Yeah.
I don't think the mic's actually. Yeah, I don't think
you have to hold it close. Okay.
Very good.
Yep. All right, great. Yeah, so it's my pleasure to be sitting here with Michael Cole, CIO, is that the title? For Ryder. CTO,
We debated it for a while, and we decided the CTO was probably right, but CIO, whatever.
What's your handicap?
We have Chatham House rules, right? Chatham House rule is we keep secrets within the four walls. So I don't play golf. It's kind of quite unusual. It's kind of quite embarrassing when people come up to me in the office and they say, Michael, what's your handicap? Surely you play. I said, I don't play golf. I'm a tennis guy. So I always say I play tennis.
USTA.
All right. Well, Michael has a very interesting story. So before we jump right into what you're doing from a technology perspective, maybe for the benefit of the audience, can you provide us with just a brief kind of overview about the Ryder Cup for those that may not be familiar with it?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'm happy. Can you hear me?
We need it for the camera.
We're really good. Microphone, okay. I probably need two hands. So the Ryder Cup is probably the blue ribbon event in the golf industry. And it takes place every 2 years. And each alternate Ryder Cup is hosted in the US or it's hosted in Europe. So we're very pleased and very proud to be the host for this year, 2018. It's unusual in golf because golf is very much an individual sport. And the typical rules of golf is what we call the match play format. 72 holes over the 4 days. And I mention this because the Ryder Cup is very much about team, and we call it match play. So you're not there as an individual, you're there as part of the team. Team Europe or Team US. Does anyone know, actually, in terms of the history of the Ryder Cup, how long the US team have been playing a European team? Just out of interest. Because the Ryder Cup goes back to 1927, I think it is. But the European element is very recent. Does anyone know when that started? Anyone like to hazard a guess?
20 years ago?
It's quite recent, only since 79, which is some 35 or so years ago. Historically, the Ryder Cup used to be US versus England, and then in 79 they changed to a European team. So the whole concept of Team US versus Team Europe is relatively new in the history of the game. So the Ryder Cup takes place every 2 years, alternates between the US and Europe, and again, historically, it's been held in the UK. This is the first time since '97 when it was held in Valderrama. Sorry, '95 when it was held in Valderrama. It's been held outside the UK. And again, we're very pleased that the Paris have decided to host this particular event. It's held over 3 days. The first 2 days comprises of the foursomes. So two from each team will participate in the foursomes format. And then the final day, it's very much about the individuals. Teams of 12 against 12. So there are 28 points at play. Over the 3 days, and the first team to get to 14.5 wins.
Awesome.
Anyone got any questions on the format of the Ryder Cup, the history of the Ryder Cup, or want to know anything about the Ryder Cup before we get into technology?
An interesting question. For the European team, are there kind of country rivalries that happen in the selection of players? Or is it very much like a cohesive team?
It's very much about the team. You know, when you read the biographies of the players, you know, the real passion of the sport and the tournament comes through. And it's quite incredible to get an understanding of what it means for individual players to actually be part of a team. You know, we compete with the PGA Tour, and equally we collaborate with the PGA Tour because we all have the game of golf. But you know, we make it mandatory for European Tour players to participate in a minimum number of our tournaments in terms of being eligible for selection to the European Tour. And that's not a problem. I mean, they really want to be part of the team. So there's a huge amount of pride involved and a huge amount of passion involved. And so, yeah, from country to country, there is no rivalry. It is very much about team. It is very much about Team Europe, as much as it is about Team USA. Any other questions on Ryder Cup?
So I have a question. So when I think about fan experiences, I generally think about a stadium environment in terms of the owners wanting to improve the fan experience. Not so much in a golf course environment. So can you tell me a bit about kind of what your vision is and how you're applying technology to golf?
I mean, that's a question. I could probably spend about 2 hours just answering that one question. But, let me give you a little bit of context. I mean, my background is very much around the Olympics. And been involved in London in 2012. I was involved in Rio. More recently, I was involved in Pyeongchang 2018, Tokyo 2020. And I came into the world of golf, not being a golfer, but I was given the opportunity to enter into this industry. And it really is an untold story, in my view. When you consider our challenges, I live very close to Wimbledon, and to the Old England Club. And I look at the Old England Club and I think, gosh, they have 50 weeks to prepare for a 2-week tournament, which starts very soon actually. I'm quite excited about that. When I go back, it all starts to, the look and feel in my local village really starts to pick up, so I get very excited about the All England and the Wimbledon tournament. If you look at a football club, they're dealing with a fixed stadium environment, and it's very easy, in my view, to be preparing for that, because nothing moves. You have a fixed environment. If you look at motor racing, and I know that you guys are very involved in motor racing. British Grand Prix, or you look at the Grand Prix, Formula 1, 22 Grand Prix around the world. but they're always returning to the same venues. And the ability to return to the same venue is somewhat works to your advantage, because you come along and everything's fibered up and you kind of plug in and away you go. When we consider golf, we as the European Tour run 47 tournaments on our schedule in 30 countries, over 5 continents. Our closed season is 3 days. In rugby, in football, in whatever sport, it's 2 months, it's 3 months, it's 4 months. We have 3 days from one season to the next. And when we consider the environment of golf course, it's acres in the US. People understand acres.
Yes.
Okay. Probably only 2 countries in the world, the UK and the US, understand acres. So a golf course is around about 150 acres. For those people that are more metrically minded, it's 600,000 square meters. The World Cup at the moment, so we'll put it in the context of football. The equivalent, a golf course is the equivalent of 85 football pitches. So it's huge. And 90% of our tournaments are played in a brand new course. Very 90% is a brand new environment, it's a brand new course, it's a brand new venue, which means it doesn't have fibre, it has no infrastructure. So we are all about temporary overlay. We have to provide 5 different infrastructures. One for TV, for the broadcast media. We broadcast to, we have arrangements with 40 broadcasters in the world. They're broadcasting to 150 countries. We have tournament TV, the big fan zones, and typically for the Ryder Cup we will have 16 of those in place, so we have to provide that infrastructure as well. The public Wi-Fi is our third. Our scoring system in our data collection is done off the 4th, and then we have backup house. So we have 5 infrastructures that we have to deploy in 47 tournaments in 30 countries in 5 continents with a downtime of 3 days a year.
Wow.
So it's pretty challenging. The biggest challenge is Wi-Fi. And expectation nowadays is Wi-Fi just needs to be there, it just needs to work. Spectators don't really care where they're at on a 150 acre site. They just want it to work. They want to be connected all the time. So, my team are responsible for ensuring we have ubiquity of Wi-Fi access across the equivalent of 85 football pitches in 47 tournaments. So that is the #1 challenge that we have. How we can create an environment where people feel connected all of the time, wherever they are. And when I say wherever they are, each country they're in, because of our tournaments and our schedule. So getting that consistency, whether we're running a tournament outside London, or in Paris, or in Portugal, or in Austria, it doesn't matter to them. They expect and they have needs around connectivity.
Do you mind if we sit? No? Thank you.
So beyond Wi-Fi access, what other applications are you looking at to improve the fan experience?
So, probably a few things I've said today is maybe have surprised people. I don't play golf. The size of a golf course, the fact we do 47 tournaments. So my next surprise is we consider ourselves to be an entertainment company, and golf is our product. We're all about entertainment. Yes, golf takes place over 4 days. Thursday to a Sunday. But on Tuesday night, we typically do what we call a hero challenge, which is golf and the floodlights. We have fireworks, we have lots of alcohol, we have loud music, and we make it a real fun experience. It's a one-hole shootout amongst our top players. We have the prime where we invite amateurs to play with professionals and celebrities. And this is all about engagement. The reason we position ourselves as an entertainment company is we want to change the conversation. We want to change the conversation in golf. We want people to experience the broader dynamics of what we have to offer. Golf will always have its loyalty. 50 million players in the world. And but for us, we have to change from being a sport which is niche and appeals to the super fan to one that appeals to a much broader audience. And the only way we're going to achieve that is through engagement. So a lot of what we offer now is very much with that engagement and that immersive environment in mind. I'm probably speaking less as a CTO and more as a marketeer, because technology has a key role to play. We're very much about the brand challenger in the industry, and we are on a transformation of global golf, and technology has to underpin that, and it has to support it. So there are many things that we're doing for our fans, aside from the entertainment, but in terms of the engagement, we want people to come into our environment and to give them that interactive experience. We want to be able to track players, for example. It sounds crazy, if you're on a football pitch, you can kind of see the players. You're in a tennis environment, you know where the players are at. But on a 150-acre site, you've got a challenge to understand where your favourite player is at every time. So we're going to make it really easy. We'll give the ability through IoT type capability to track the players. We'll put a beaconing device, they don't know yet, but we'll put a beaconing device in the caddy's bag. We'll know where they are at any stage. And we'll do signage. We'll kind of make it interactive for the guys to understand where they're at any time and what's going on. We'll create a zonal overlay, so there'll be trigger points. When a spectator comes into a zone, it will create an alert. We'll work with our commercial family, and we'll be able to push out notifications to those individuals about promotions, about concessions, about activities that are taking place. So yeah, there are many ways that we're working with at the moment in terms of creating that interactive environment. And and again, I think probably a surprise to many people, because they view technology and they view golf and they think, well, what role does technology have to play in this? Actually, it has a significant role to play.
Yeah. Okay. So have you begun the deployment already?
Of the 47 tournaments or the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, the Ryder Cup, yeah.
Yes, we have. We would typically start to commission services about 6 months out for a Ryder Cup. So the team have been on site since February and March of this year. The Wi-Fi went live last week. The equipment got delivered. I'm very pleased to see it actually on site. And it's quite a significant inventory that we have. This is the biggest investment in technology that we've ever made as the European Tour and for a Ryder Cup. So to give a little bit of context, we have 130 switches and we have 700 access points, all based on the Aruba platform. What does that mean? I quite often liken this to the Olympics, because that's my previous world. And I was talking to the excuse me, I was talking to the CIO of the IOC recently, Jerry Fennell. I said, Jerry, we're going to have 700 access points deployed for the Ryder Cup. I was saying, that's more than we have on an Olympic Park. So, we have the complexity and we have the scale in the Olympics. And I'm very pleased that we've chosen Aruba and the technology of our platform. I'm delighted that Hewlett Packard Enterprise are our partner. And people say to me, well, why have you chosen Hewlett Packard Enterprise and the Aruba platform? We've worked with the technology for over 10 years. In fact, the technology that we're employing was used in 2010 Ryder Cup. So the company, the technology, the platform is nothing new to us. But what is new is the relationship that we have. And that's something I'm very pleased and very excited about. So going back to the question, we have started. And we have a lot of work to do still, but we're applying a lot of the principles out of the Olympics. The Olympics work on the basis of test events. Typically for any major sporting event, like the Olympics, they will have in a region of 60 or so test events, and we have our own test events. So when I return to London this evening, we are already planning our first test event for Ryder Cup, which is taking place at the Golf National for the French Open next week. And I know Cindy and some of the team will be there, and already planning activities for the Ryder Cup.
So one of the things I read somewhere, and you just mentioned it actually, is that you're doing some data analytics. And I don't know if that has anything to do with improving the experience for the fans, but can you describe a little bit about that?
Data is incredibly important to us. And I was intrigued when I was at the general session yesterday with Antonio, and he put a headline up on one of his slides, which said, "Data, the new currency." And I was sitting next to Michael Sweeney at the time out of worked for Hewlett Packard Enterprise in the UK. And Michael's been very supportive of a lot of work and driving the relationship forward. And I pulled my notes out of my bag and said, "Michael," I said, "look at this. These are my notes." And it said data is our new currency. And so, it was incredible. It was a mindset thing. Data is important to us. Well, it's more than important. It is our new currency. If we look at scoring within golfing, I often say to my colleagues as a non-golfer that you guys do an incredible job of overcomplicating a simple game, right? Because it's like putting a ball in a hole. And
Spoken from a tennis player.
I more often put the ball into the net than over the net, for sure. When we look at a typical field for golf, it's 156 players, over 4 days, 18 holes, 4 rounds. When we look at scoring, that equates to 20,000 data points. Just on scoring alone, 20,000 data points for one tournament. We now are running a project called Waggle, and Waggle is very much about collecting more data, more insight, more intelligence, and we are now collecting 7 times the amount of data than we did before. 140,000 data points for one tournament. We're collecting club type, lie of the ball, yardage to the hole, even the weather condition. 140,000 data points for one tournament. Across our 47 tournament schedule, that's 550 million data points. And in terms of derivatives and stats, 2.2 billion. So data is incredibly important to us. And we will extend that further. 2 weeks ago, we ran a concept in Austria. We called it the Shot Clock Masters. How many golfers are in, just out of interest? About 20%. That's quite normal. That's good. So we timed the players. And we said, right, first player to the ball, 50 seconds. Second player to the ball, 40 seconds. And we did that throughout the entire tournament. The feedback we've had has been incredibly positive. Yeah, even from the US, PGA Tour, PGA of America, and everyone has been incredibly positive about the concept. Now, I can't say that we're going to go forward and always time players, but as a concept, as a proof of concept, it was incredibly positive for us. I mention this because, again, simple idea, really difficult to implement from a technology perspective. The synchronization between the referee, we had to develop an application purely for the ref. Because the only player that can commence the timing is the ref, and they had to switch between a 40-second start and a 50-second start. The players would have a timeout if they required it, an extra 40 seconds. And there were various other parameters. So synchronizing from the app to the display, synchronizing from the display to the TV and the overlay graphics was incredibly difficult. It comes back to the point again of simple idea, really difficult to implement. We timed 22,000 shots in a single tournament. So the ability to collect data, whether it's scoring, 20,000, timing, 22,000, or whether it's those other elements of club type and the various other metrics around playing, 147,000. So data is critical to us, and it will become more critical to us. So we're very keen and very eager to make that data, that insight, that intelligence available, not only to the fans, but to players, to coaches. I'll let you in on another little secret. This data we made available to Thomas Bjorn, the Ryder Cup Europe captain, 6 months ago. And he's been using it for team selection for the Ryder Cup. We call it the captain's dashboard. This is driving the strategy for team selection. We will continue to collect that data during the Ryder Cup. He will use it for preparing strategy as part of the tournament. When I mentioned this to some of the industry peers in the US, they were a little concerned that the US team were not doing something similar. So I was not surprised to see the PGA of America strike a deal with another technology company fairly recently and taking a similar approach. The reason I mention this is it demonstrates how critical data is to players and to golf and to the industry. It is driving the insight that is enhancing their performance, and fans want it as well. When Danny Willett won the Masters in 2016, I think, he accredited his success for winning the Masters to technology. And it is that significant for us. So machine learning, cognitive learning, is very much at the heart of my thinking, my vision for the future, and making that data and that insight and that intelligence available to fans, absolutely, through our digital channels. And the Aruba platform, by the way, will assist us in this journey and this process. We now, for the first time, have an ability to track not just the players, but the spectators. For the Ryder Cup, we will have 51,000 spectators on the course on any given day. Over the course of the week, we will have 250,000 spectators. By the way, it's probably the largest BYOD environment. Just as an aside, we will track those spectators through the beacon technology. We're utilising the Meridian platform. And we will use that behaviour science to really drive value for our commercial family and ourselves, of course. But again, it's more data points. So hopefully that's kind of answered the question.
So the commercial family, meaning your vendors and your sponsors?
Sponsors.
Yeah, the ecosystem? Yeah, okay. So you mentioned that the US team wants to implement something similar. So what came to mind for me is that just wanting to understand kind of your vision for this. Are you doing this for competitive reasons to become the premier golf entity in the world, or is it about transforming golf to attract more fans, or can you give me a little insight into what the business objectives and vision are?
I mean, my vision is very straightforward, and I can sum it up in one line. If it moves, I want to track it. And I have a view that when everything is connected, then anything is possible, and it's as simple as that. But just to extend that a little further, the reason we've made our biggest investment in technology ever is because I want to be best in class. I want to be best in class for connecting the course and given that ubiquity of access to everything and everyone. I want to really be able to understand behaviours and to really get inside what people are doing at our tournaments, what's driving them, the dwell times, the ingress into zones, how much time is spent with grandstands, how much relevance they really give to our concessions and our merchandising, and we can only do that through the platform. And the ability to track individuals and use that data in a very informed way. And then thirdly, I want to use that insight and that data to create value for our sponsors, to give them the ability to understand potential customers that they have, because that's important. The days of branding and the days of just hospitality, driving ROI for the commercial family is long gone. They need real insight, and they need to understand who's attending, what they're doing, what their behaviours are, how they can convert them. And these are the metrics that are really important, not just for us, but for our sponsor family too.
Yeah, okay, got it. All right, so we've been doing a lot of talking. Why don't we open it up to the audience here to see if there's any questions?
I have a question about the infrastructure. With all the venues that you go to, do you have like 2 sets of infrastructure, or is it complete tear down, transport, reset up? Or do you have 2 so you can start setting up the second venue before the first venue is torn down?
I don't like to talk about this because it kind of scares me a little bit, because I'm already thinking, gosh, how well prepared are we for the French Open next week? And I have an amazing team, so we're very well prepared. It works in slightly different ways. With the broadcast community, they will have 2 teams of riggers, and they will alternate between venues. So at any one time, there's a set of riggers out there that's deploying the fibre and the infrastructure. Just to give that a little bit of scale and scope, by the way, for any tournament, we deploy around about 15 kilometres, 10, 11 miles of fibre. So it's pretty considerable. One of the first, when I joined the European Tour, I've only been there for 6 months, and in the first week, one of the team approached me and he said, look, Michael, we really need to buy this piece of equipment. And I looked at it, and it was a piece of farming equipment.
Foreign to a CTO.
Why are we investing in this piece of agriculture farming equipment? And he said, Michael, it's a molding machine. I was still none the wiser. I said, look, what does it do? He says, it buries fibre. said, what do you mean it varies fibre? I said, well, at the moment, you know, when we deploy 11 miles of fibre every tournament, the guys are kind of digging it by hand, and you put it 6 inches underground, or they put it over the ground and they're feeling a bit lazy. This piece of farming equipment enables them to, it gets dragged behind literally a tractor on a golf course, but it has the ability to bury the fibre 3 feet underground. And of course we can leave it in place and it becomes a legacy. So it kind of makes sense. And, you know, it cost me about $500. It's probably one of the best investments I've ever made. Apart from the Aruba pack. So, you know, these are just some of the challenges we have. I mean, you know, when I took on the role as a CGI, I didn't quite know what to expect. But signing off on farming equipment was probably one of the least things I was expecting. It varies, scale and scope. You know, the Ryder Cup is our premiere, it's our blue ribbon, and we have the guys on course 6 months in advance. Other courses, we can literally develop, we can put the infrastructure in place, and we're talking 2 to 3 weeks in advance. Sometimes we work with partners in country, and we'll work with small localized systems integrators just to put that infrastructure in place, and sometimes my team take on more responsibility. So it really does vary depending on the scale and the scope. Our tournaments go from attendee levels of 10,000 a tournament, that's a small one, up to the Ryder Cup, which is 51,000. So the lead-in time, the way we approach the tournaments will differ quite considerably. But the TV side is probably the more significant because of what it is. So we are the host broadcaster, we always do our own filming, and then we syndicate that content out to 40 worldwide broadcasters. That is an entourage of 12 trucks, and those trucks are physically kind of rocking up to a tournament on a Tuesday night. They are ready to go by Wednesday for a pro-am. First tee off for the tournament is on Thursday, 4 days of tournament. They decommission or bump out, as we refer to it, on a Sunday evening. And then 2 days, they're on to the next tournament, and it all starts all over again. So it is literally a continuous cycle of operational delivery. You know, I kind of started this off by saying it's an untold story. I mean, it really is an untold story, and it's fascinating and incredible when we look at the technology that underpins any given tournament.
Other questions?
First of all, do you need a bunch of bloggers to come out and cover the event for you? Second of all, how much you talked about how you're tracking the caddies and tracking some of the people. Is it just going to be a complete display of sensors across the whole golf course, or how is that planned?
One of the challenges is kind of the regulation of golf and what is possible and what isn't possible. You know, we know that sensors are available, and you can put a sensor in a club, and that can give you a lot of data points, a lot of metrics. Is it permissible in golf? Not yet. Can we put sensors in a ball? Again, people don't perhaps realise that players play with their own individual balls. So unlike football and tennis, where there's a regulated set of balls to use, in golf, players will very often bring their own balls and stuff. So the ability to truly adopt the principle of IoT and put sensors everywhere, you know, we are challenged a little. But, you know, we will do what we can. But these feature very heavily in any golf tournament. So for the Ryder Cup, we will have 400 buggers shipping equipment and shipping people around the course. Each of those bogies will have a device, a beaconing device, and we will track those bogies. So, we will do what we can. Again, it comes back to ubiquity of access, because you need total coverage across the entire 150 acres to be able to track people, equipment, things. And again, the investment that we're making in technology with Aruba gives us the ability. We've never been able to do this before. So there are things that we're rolling out for the first time at the French Open next week, and then we will scale up for the Ryder Cup. And I go back to what I was saying before, where we have an ability to do so, if it moves, I'm going to drop it.
Other questions?
You mentioned broadcasting, that you film and then you syndicate it, and with the change of the industry really starting to get away from traditional broadcasting and becoming more OTT centered, and given the amount of data you're going to be tracking, do you think that will impact your future plans on how you might interact with potential fans in the future and doing your own sort of content creation or anything like that?
Again, a great question, and very relevant. What is critical for us is changing the conversation in golf. And the gentleman here made reference to blogging. And social media is critical to us, and the reason it's critical is it enables us to create great content and push that content out, not just to our super fans, but to broaden that audience. And I think golf's in a really exciting place right now. The young generation coming through, I think the statistic last year, when you look at majors, something like 3 or 4 majors last year were won by individuals under 25. So, this is the kind of dynamic that's now taking place in golf. And with younger players and great content, we have an ability to really engage a new audience, a worldwide audience, new markets, new people. And that's what we're really keen to do. And that's why we position ourselves as an entertainment company and not a golf product. It is absolutely critical to us. OTT. Yeah, we're kind of looking at our strategy at the moment. This is a pivotal year for us. So, amongst friends, we have 70%, 70, of our media rights up for renewal this year. And OTT is critical in terms of how we move forward. We have choices. We can carve out and we can run separate OTT into what we call dark territories where we don't have media rights. Or we can work with a broadcaster. They do the linear stuff and we do the OTT stuff. So, we have that ability because we own our own product. We own our own broadcast company, European Tour Productions, and we have the ability to service the worldwide market in the way that is right for us. Whether that's like content, whether it's like linear broadcast, whether it's like digital OTT. But yeah, we're looking at all of that.
I have a question. You have background in Olympics. Olympics usually has a fixed venue, so when you invest in the venue, you leave behind you're moving to new sites. How much of your gear stays with the venue, or you pick it all up and you?
So kind of like a traveling service. We are a complete overlay. Everything we do from the grandstand to the fan zones is rebuild for a tournament, and that's why it's so much of a challenge for us. The Olympics it varies from Olympic to Olympics, but typically you're looking at probably 60% permanent venues to 40% temporary. But this is changing all the time because it's all about legacy, it's all about sustainable future. you know, it's really important for me that what we do creates an environment, a sustainable environment, and we pride ourselves on diversity, and I think we can play a greater role in creating a legacy for local communities and for the golf courses where we participate. So, you know, whilst the majority of what we do is temporary overlay, for me, you know, leaving an infrastructure behind, leaving that fibre buried 3 feet underground, you know, it's the great thing to do, and it's the right thing to do. I want to create, you know, as many connected golf courses as we can, not just for our benefit and our purpose, but for the industry of golf as well. So learning from the Olympics, making sure that we create legacies, sustainable legacies, is critical for us to move forward. It's the right thing to do, and I want to do more of it.
So do you leave behind, you get the gear, you leave the designs so that then you can replace it?
We will always work with the local venue. Well, more often than not, we are the local organising committee. We will work with them, understanding what their needs are, what our needs are. If we look at the Golf National behind me, again, you may not be aware, but this is an Olympic venue for 2024 for golf in the Paris Olympics. So we have a great opportunity to deploy an infrastructure that is not only right for us at the Ryder Cup, but actually is right for the venue and for the Paris 2024 Olympics.
Actually, that question prompted one for me, which is every golf course is different. And so how much planning goes into the design of the overall Wi-Fi network for each golf course?
A lot. It's the other thing that struck me. Those things that hover and fly around. What are they called? Drones. We have a drone in the team. So on the one hand, we have agricultural farming equipment, and the next thing is the guy produces a drone. I said, why do we have a drone? And he said, to enable us to plan. And physically, the team will be out in the weeks or the months before tournaments with a drone and using that to film the environment. It's the only way that we can get a true understanding of how we're going to deploy the infrastructure. Let's be able to know in certain terms, 150 acre site, it's huge. And the only way you can really deploy infrastructure for TV, for public Wi-Fi, for back of house, for scoring, is to have the right visibility and to do the right planning. And for that, we need a technology, and and we have to do it in the correct way. So every course is different, unfortunately, but that's what makes golf great. And so there's a lot of planning that goes into infrastructure for a tournament. In a typical environment, we will have around about 90 access points, and we will look to achieve in the order of 40 to 50% ubiquity of Wi-Fi coverage. If they can't get Wi-Fi coverage, then we rely upon the cellular network for people to have that always on, always connected approach. For the Ryder Cup, we will have almost 700 access points, and we are aiming to achieve around about 85% ubiquity of coverage. That's a huge challenge, but you know, we believe that with the equipment and the planning, we can achieve that. For 3 days of operation, and then we rip it out and we start all over again.
Did they let you at least fly the drone or drive the tractor?
The job specs are kind of quite interesting, you know. When we're recruiting, we kind of I'm now assessing people on their ability to drive tractors and fly drones.
How large is your team?
Probably not large enough. And again, it's not a straightforward question to answer. So my responsibility is across technology, typical IT, so back of house and tournament delivery. I'm responsible for digital. I'm also responsible for data management. They didn't tell me this actually when I was interviewed, but every player in the world features, every professional player in the world features with the worldwide rankings, what we call the OWGR, and my team run that. So we run OWGR on behalf of 23 tours in the world. So I have a team doing that as well. And then finally, I'm also responsible for scoring. So the direct answer to the question is it's a team of 30. 15 on digital, data management and technology, and then 15 on the scoring side of things. But we also rely upon volunteers. So for any given tournament, we have a walk-in team of scorers that work with, or they will literally follow the groups, if it's a 2-ball or 3-ball or a 4-ball group. And so we have around like 80 volunteers. So I guess the indirect response is 30 direct reports, but for every tournament we will have up to 80 volunteers as well that are responsible for the scoring.
Other questions? Yes.
So for people who will be going to the Ryder Cup in September, what kind of experience on site can they expect, and how is that really sort of different from, maybe the Ryder Cup that was, here in the U.S.
Cindy, have you been to a Ryder Cup before?
I've watched so many on television.
Have you? So you and I were going to our first Ryder Cup in Paris in September this year. So, and I mention this because coming from my background in the Olympics, I've done some work on the Pan American Games, and I've done a little bit of work in the World Cup in Brazil in 2014. So I know a lot of people from the industry, in particular around the technology and sport industry. And I was talking to an industry colleague recently, and this gentleman is now involved in insight and intelligence and the media side of things. But he's also been a former athlete. He's also worked for the IAAF as well. So he kind of knows his stuff. And whereas I can lay claim to being in the industry for around about 12 years, he can lay claim for being in the industry for, I'm not entirely sure of his age, but it's probably about 40 years. And he said to me, Michael, he said, and by the way, this is before I took the job on, right? So it was not biased in any way, shape or form. He said, I've done the World Cup, I've done the IAAF World Athletics, I've done the Olympics, I've done all of that. But the 2014 Ryder Cup in Glen Eagles, he cited as being the best sporting experience that he'd ever had. And now I think, well, that's the expectation. So we have to better that. The people that come to Ryder Cup, they will not be disappointed within the spectacle as it is, because we in terms of what we call inside the ropes, it is team against team, it's the US against Europe, the passion just oozes, it just comes through. My job is to ensure that the spectator experience outside the ropes, what we call outside the ropes, within the operational side, lives up and exceeds expectations. So whatever happened in Glen Eagles, arguably being one of the best experiences that this particular gentleman had ever experienced, I want to exceed that. I want people to come in and generally have the best sporting experience that they've ever had. And technology will help drive that as well. People say to me, kind of being involved in major sport, wow, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I say, no, actually it isn't. It's about being a lifetime opportunity. And I want magic moments to live with people for their life. I want people to say, do you know what? I went to the Ryder Cup in 2018. That's the best experience I've ever had.
So I have a question real quick. Just comparatively speaking, when you go to the Masters, you can check your cell phone. No technology is available on the course. You're not allowed to take a cell phone out there. No cameras, nothing. And it's done in the sense that, from the friends that have been there, it's done in the sense that they want you to appreciate the moment for what it is and not interact and not view the game through a digital screen, but really have that once in a lifetime experience. You're the exact opposite of that. So, and that's not bad. I'm a technologist, so that's great. But how do you compare those two, and how are you going to stop? Every concert, every performer, some of the biggest performers in the world right now are asking people to put their phones down so that they're not doing this the whole time. Yeah. How do you compare the fan experience, or what's going to happen to the fan experience when everyone is trying to record Tiger sinking a putt, or trying to record, someone else doing something instead of actually living in the moment? What's your thought on that, in the way that the digital will transform that? Because it's great to record it, and you know what I mean? I think that's awesome. I think that the more connectivity you have, VR experiences, AR experiences, you can add a lot to it. But what about taking away from the game itself? What are your thoughts on one versus the other?
It's an interesting dichotomy between the two. Our approach and the Masters approach, and ultimately it's about drawing the balance and doing what's right for the sport, doing what's right for the experience, but equally doing what's right for the players as well. And we always need to have the interest of the pros and the players at heart in whatever we do. But the challenge you pose in terms of the question is an interesting one, and kind of relates to Cinder's as well. And I probably didn't answer Cinder's to the full extent of which I needed to. Again, let me just draw a parallel with the Olympics. And London 2012, I used to work for British Telecom, and I ran the activation program for British Telecom for the Olympics in 2012. And we had to make a decision between, do we run a showcase environment on the Olympic Park, or do we do something off the park, entirely separate? And we decided to go with the latter. And we decided to effectively do a concert every day for the 17 days of the Olympics. And we wanted to make this a free concert. We want people to come along and to experience the engagement, and to enjoy the Olympics without actually being at the Olympics. But we were concerned about the quality of music that we could put on, because it doesn't come cheap, limited budget, and again, we kind of had to draw that compromise between, the quality of act, but being able to put in place an agenda or a schedule that was going to entice 10,000, 20,000 people every day to come along. What was really interesting is after about the third or fourth day, we detected a change in tone around the attendees that were coming. They weren't coming for the music. They were coming to enjoy the sport, but to do so within a community environment, with their friends, with their colleagues. And it's interesting that from that point on, we put more emphasis on showing the content of the sport on big screens and enabling people to participate in an immersive way, but to enjoy the sport with their friends and their colleagues. And it became critical, and that's right. I would actually argue that people, we were drawing bigger crowds when the approach was towards a fan zone than it was around a musical concert. And I guess that's my principle, coming back to the question. We want people to enjoy this, not because of what it is and the spectacle that it is with inside the ropes, but we want them to enjoy it with their friends, and that's, for me, a big priority. And to enable that to happen, technology has to work for them. We have to give them the ability to utilize their smartphones. We have to give them the ability to create their own content. We have to give them the ability to always be connected and to share that content, not only with their colleagues and their friends on site, but around the world. So that's opportunity needs to be given to the fans, to give them the choice. But I do stress it has to be a compromise between the rights of sponsors, the rights of the broadcast community and the rights holders, and in particular for the players as well. Like many things, it's a compromise and you have to get the right balance.
Follow up to that really quick. Do you have a triage team just in case somebody films one golfer wrapping a club around another golfer or something like that?
Yes. Let me just understand the question. Do we...
a triage team, so if something comes out of social media that is negative to the event, that they can handle the situation.
Yeah, we have a dedicated team of digital social media that are constantly reporting on activity both on the course as well as what's going on through the social media platforms. Digital media is as important as traditional media, and we give it a huge priority.
All right. So, Michael, I want to thank you for your time today. This has been very insightful. One last question. What are your thoughts on Europe's prospects of bringing the cup home?
If you'd have asked me that question maybe even a year ago, I would say, this is for the industry. It's going to be the quality of the players, the quality of the team, or the likely team, I should say, that Jim's putting together. The European team are going to find it a real challenge to compete. I think what we're seeing in the last 6 to 9 months is a resurgence of talent coming through. And the European team are producing some incredible talent, young talent, the likes of Paul Dern, Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood, who we saw perform remarkably at the US Open last weekend. So I think my view has changed a little bit. I think it's going to be a phenomenal contest. I'm not going to answer your question directly, but I think it's, it could go either way, and I think the European team are going to put up a significant challenge, and it's going to be incredible.
Okay, great. One more quick question. Did you say a little bit earlier that you named your data program the Waggle? Is that what you said?
Sorry, what was that?
The Waggle.
The Waggle. Melissa, it's a working title.
All right, thank you for remaining for the company that you got. give it up for Michael.